Great. Okay. So this morning we're going into some spinal extension, back bending. We're not going to do anything crazy. We're not going to be going into full wheel unless that's your jam and you want to. That's fine, of course. But what I'd like you to have are two blocks if you've got them. Not mandatory, but they're going to prove a useful prop to do some exploratory research into the lengthening of the hip flexors and the quadriceps. So just a little quick A and P. Hip flexors run the front line, the anterior of your hip, right? Anterior is front. And we have several hip flexors in the body, but what we're going to focus on today predominantly will be lengthening our quadriceps. And along with lengthening, it's one thing to be hypermobile and super flexible and bendy and a Gumby and all that. But if you have the flexibility and the mobility without the corresponding strength, then there's there's a potential setup for disaster there. So when we lengthen the front line of the body to go into, and we're going to focus on lower body today. When we lengthen the front line of the body to extend and go back, we want to strengthen the back line of the body. So that means we're going to bring a little bit of awareness into strengthening and creating a bit of power in our hamstrings and our glutes. Okay, so the hamstrings and the glutes are hip extenders, meaning they take the leg back. They take the femur bone back behind the hip point, the pelvis. That's extending the hip. When we take the leg back, there's a natural muscular action, because that's what those muscles do. They pull the leg back. So just like, this is such a classic illustration, a classic physical illustration of the meaning of hatha yoga. Hatha yoga is the sun and the moon. It's the union of opposites. It's the union of opposing actions. And so when we're dealing with, and we can get really esoteric with that, the union of like all kinds of opposing actions. But for our purposes today, the union of opposing actions is when are we contracting? When are we extending? When are we strengthening? When are we lengthening and creating flexibility? So we're going to toy around with both of those. We're going to start low and then pick it up, and we're going to go through 3 rounds of kind of a modified sun salutation. We're going to explore lunging in those sun salutations. So if you want to have your blocks, to step forward and back, great. And then we're going to do one standing balancing pose, which I'll cue you if you want to grab a chair or go to a wall for a little extra support, and just like, security blanket wall, security wall, that's fine. And then we'll come back down to the floor and ultimately end up in Setu Bandha Sardhavangasana, which is bridge forming pose. So remember, no, we're not pushing up into back bend today. But everything that we do today will prep you, especially from your ribs down, will prep you for going up into back bend. Okay? Okay. So if you have 2 blocks, this is how I'd like you to begin. And if you don't have 2, maybe you've got 1 block and you can grab a pillow or you can grab a blanket and fold it up. Because where we're going to go to begin is a supported fish pose. With both of your blocks set up behind you, I'm going to put 1 block lengthwise on the mat on its 2nd height. This block is going to run parallel to my spine. And then the block beyond that will be a pillow, or not a pillow, it's very hard, but will be a support for the back of my head. Keep your knees bent and your feet and butt on the floor, please. And then just come down onto your elbows so that you can assess and address this block that's going to go under your spine. Now, I'm not opposed at all to you spinning this block a quarter turn and having this block run perpendicular to your spine. And this way it would support you at your scapula, right at the base of your scapula. That actually feels pretty good. It might actually be more comfortable for many of y'all instead of going parallel, especially if you have a hard block, a wood block or a bamboo or a cork. Running parallel those edges might dig into your body just a little much. But, take your time. We're going to be here for about 3 minutes. So I want you to find a shape and the support that's appropriate in your body. this block that's going to support your head can always go up a notch. In fact, that's how this is typically taught, is the head a little higher than the heart, your block head higher than your scapula block. But again, I'm going to leave that up to you. If you want your head to be, your cervical spine to be more neutral, in line with the rest of your thoracic, go for it. Good. So once you've, once you've made the time to figure out how to set the blocks up for you, great. And then just, you can keep your knees bent. You can take your legs straight down the length of your mat if you'd like. And I didn't say this, but of course, if you've just got the one block, use the block under your back and put a cushion or a pillow or blanket stack under your head. Great. And I recognize this isn't like super cushy. This isn't full on restorative. That's why we're only going to be here for about 3 minutes. Take your arms out like a T, but then allow your elbows to bend and draw a little closer to your body. Invite your shoulders, the muscles around the top of your shoulders, your deltoids, to just roll and melt back towards the floor. Tap into your breath without doing anything manipulative to your breath. Just simply move your awareness along for the ride, inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling, allowing your breath to circulate through your entire torso, your entire trunk, and exhaling. Inhaling and inviting your breath to circulate all the way out to your digits, your fingers and your toes. And exhaling. And I'm going to have you bring your arms straight out in front of you, reaching your fingertips to the ceiling. Good. Palms face each other. And then from here, I'm just going to have you bend your elbows, keep your forearms parallel to one another, keep your palms facing one another. And then slowly draw your fingertips towards the floor or towards the mat just beyond your head. Your hands are still shoulder width apart, elbows are still shoulder width apart, and just maybe the tops of your middle fingers, the tips rather of your middle fingers come to your mat. Out of the periphery of your eye, notice where your elbows go. And imagine you're squeezing a large watermelon between your elbows. Draw or hug your elbows in towards the midline slightly. Notice that corresponding broadening of your shoulder blades across your upper back. Become observant of any muscular engagement that happens through your armpits. And then while you're here, tips of your fingers resting at the floor, elbows bent, elbows hugging towards the midline. While you're here, bring your awareness to your low front ribs and gently draw them in like you're kind of corseting your front ribs in. Let's stay for one more breath. Very nice. And bring your elbows to the floor once again. Great. Now your exit strategy out of this supported fish pose. I like to bend my knees and set my feet on the floor. Bring my hand behind both my hands behind my head. And then lift my head up off the block, look to my knees. Then bring my elbows and forearms down to the floor and press up the rest of the way. Some of you might want to roll to one side. It's really, the exit strategy is up to you. Pretty much everybody on the screen practices or teaches. So I'm going to leave that up to you. Excellent. So from here, we're going to sit before we get rolling. We're going to come into Virasana. We did this, I think, a week or 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to invite you to do this again with a block. Now, I know many of you can probably just drop your sweet little derriere right down to the floor between your heels, but just indulge me if you would, and everybody sit on the block. And you can adjust the block to any height that you'd like. In fact, if you want to go to the tallest height, this is why we have 2 blocks, because you can then settle your sitting bones onto both blocks on their tallest height, which is nice. So coming into Virasana, shin bones back, take a look at your toes, spread your toenails out on the floor, use your thumbs to spread the pads of your toes out. Excellent. Virasana, hero's pose. Looks good, Kathy. Okay. Good. And then let's bring awareness into the trunk again while we're sitting. Bring your fingertips to your front ribs and just gently draw your front ribs in. And you'll notice a little engagement through the anterior abs. Just a little. It's not huge. We're not just a little engagement. Draw the front ribs in. Great. Good. Now what I'm going to ask you to do is pick your left knee up and set your left foot on the floor. Okay. Bring your left fingertips to the floor just beyond your left hip. We're going to side bend over to the left. So when you're ready, you'll inhale your right arm up overhead. And as you exhale, you'll arc your right arm over to the left, arc your spine to the left. And use your left fingertips to press into the floor to anchor yourself into your right sitting bone. You kind of lean into the right, but reach to the left. Great. Slowly rise up as you breathe in, bring both arms up. And then both arms down. If you've got a second block, set it behind you on its flat side. Take your right fingertips to the block behind you. Take your left arm up, reach up real tall, anchor into your left sitting bone and your left heel and lift out of your left ribs up. We're going to turn to the right as you exhale. Bring your left elbow to the inside of your left knee and start to turn your sternum to the right. And as you turn your trunk to the right, I want you to press your left elbow into your inner left knee. Gives you a little leverage. And at the same time, press your knee into your elbow. And turn your head and look out beyond your left fingertips, please. Yeah, great. Excellent. Beautiful. Unravel, please. Come back to center. And now you're just going to unpack that right leg and bring your left leg down. We're going to switch it up second side. Take your time transitioning. Bringing now your left knee, left leg into Ardha Virasana, half hero's pose, and setting your right foot to the floor. So we'll side bend first, right fingertips to the floor, just beyond your right hip. Inhale your left arm straight up and then side bend over to the right. Pressing into your right fingertips, giving yourself a little lean into the left. Great. Staying firmly established on both sit bones. Good. When you take your next breath in, come back to vertical, both arms up, please. Great. And then arms down. Beautiful. We're going to turn to the left. So you'll bring your left hand to the block behind you. Take your right arm up first. Get some length, anchor into your right sit bone, right hip, and then turn to the, is that the right way? Yeah, turn to the left, bring your right elbow to the inside of your right knee, forearm up. Yeah, that's it, Delinda. Yeah, good. And then a little pushback with your elbow against your knee. And turn your head and look out beyond your right fingertips. Great. Let's take another breath. Excellent. Slowly unwind your spine, come back to center. Good. And then what I'd have you do is bring your right knee back down. Come into Virasana one more time. Both shins on the floor. Good. And then one more time, bring your fingertips to your front ribs and gently draw your front ribs in. We're going to do this again when we come into a lunge. I just want you to get a feel for it now, what it feels like to have that slight engagement through the front line of your body. Excellent. And now let's come forward onto our hands and our knees. Have your blocks up front just in case you want to grab them during the flow. And on our hands and knees, let's do a couple of these scap presses that y'all know I love. You're going to keep your lower body static, but as you inhale, draw your shoulder blades together. Your chest is going to dip slightly towards the floor. And as you exhale, pull your shoulder blades apart. And just your upper back is going to round. It's not a cat-cow, right? And keeping the lumbar spine out of the picture and the pelvis out of the picture. Just hugging shoulder blades in and then pulling shoulder blades apart. We'll do this 2 or 3 more times. Just assessing scapular mobility. Very nice. And from here, make your way into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Take your hands forward, a full hand's length, and then up go your knees, up go your hips, and dog pose. There we are. So let this dog be the organic dog. Moving in whatever way feels good to wake up your body, open up the backs of your knees. Invite some blood flow down the posterior legs. Maybe hips a little from side to side or heels from side to side. Unwinding any kinks in the side body. Excellent. Okay, let's walk our feet up to our hands, please. And get this party started. So in a forward bend, I'm going to have you hook your thumbs, spread your fingers wide. Soften your knees, please. And then when you inhale, you're going to take your arms forward. Let that motion lift you upright to vertical, coming all the way up to standing. Thumbs are still hooked, fingers are wide. And then as you exhale, soft knees again, fold forward, swing your arms behind your back, clasp your fingers together. Knuckles to the ceiling. Stay here for another breath so you can open your mouth really wide and stick your tongue out. Very nice. Fingertips to the floor, please. Inhale and lift yourself halfway up. You can slide your hands to your shins or keep your fingertips to the floor. What are you doing? And exhale, fold forward. And walk your feet back one at a time, please, to downward facing dog. Good. Let's take 3 breaths in downward dog. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Come to your knees, please. From hands and knees, take your left leg straight back and float your foot up off the floor so your leg is parallel to your sticky mat. Good. Keep your hips square. Come up onto your right fingertips, and if it feels good for you this morning, take your right arm forward. Good. Keep your cervical spine in the same plane as the rest of your spine. Eyes on your mat, maybe slightly towards the top of your mat. Good. Hips stay square. Excellent. And then hand down, knee down. We're going to go right into the other side. So as you're ready, you'll float your right leg back. Come up onto your left fingertips as you're ready. Notice how your balance is for you this morning. Yes. And then left arm, right leg. Okay. So now without touching your low ribs, remember that sensation of drawing your low ribs in, kind of that knitting or that corseting of your low ribs. Beautiful. Hand down, knee down. Downward facing dog, please, for 1 full breath. Inhale. Exhale. Bring your feet to the top of your mat. You can walk, step, lunge, hop, skip, however it suits you. Hook your thumbs, please. Spread your fingers. Here we go again. Inhale. Take your arms forward. Reach up. Maybe your arms go a little back, up to you. Exhale. Fold forward. Swing your arms behind you. Clasp your fingers together. Knuckles to the ceiling. And let's pause here for an extra breath. And shake your head no. Nod your head yes. Set your fingertips to the floor, and as you inhale, you'll come halfway up. Your fingertips can stay there, or hands can glide to your shins, long spine. Exhale, fold forward with the opposite foot, step back to downward facing dog. Just taking it really easy on this first round. 3 deep breaths in downward dog. Anchor into the 4 corners of your palms. Find that external rotation in your upper arm bones, creating a little more space for your head and your neck. And soften your knees slightly. Take your sit bones a fraction of an inch higher. Good. And then straighten your legs just a little bit more, reaching your heels towards the back of your mat. Great. Come to hands and knees, please. Okay. I'm going to have you take your left leg straight back. Okay, if it suits you, float your right arm forward. Great. Now, listen, I'm just going to have you bend your left knee and shine the sole of your left foot to the ceiling. Good. Good. And now lift everything up a little bit. Push your heel to the ceiling. Take your right arm up. Keep your hips square. Good. Press your heel up a little higher. Excellent. And then knee down, hand down. Excellent. Let's take your right leg straight back. Your left arm forward. And then as you're ready, you bend your knee, take your heel to the ceiling, keep your hips square. Good. And then just press your heel up, take your arm up. So here we are activating the posterior line, your gluteals, your hamstrings coming into the picture. Press your heel up another fraction of an inch. And then down you go. Beautiful. Make your way to downward facing dog, please. Full breath in, slow breath out. Good. And walk your feet to your hands. Nice, good. Bring your feet together so your big toes touch. Maybe your heels separate slightly. Utkatasana, bend your knees, sink your hips, lift your arms forward and up. 3 breaths, inhale. Exhale, drop into your heels, inhale. Exhale. Good, 1 more breath, inhale. Beautiful, fold forward as you exhale, straighten your legs. Yes, good, good, good. Come halfway up on your next breath in, long spine, take your sternum towards the top of your sticky mat. And then as you exhale, fold forward, you're gonna step your right foot back and bring your right knee down, coming into a low lunge. And then right away, notice where you go. Notice how the temptation, guilty, totally. The temptation is to let the hips become heavy, the pelvis to be heavy, and sink into the floor like so. It's like, oh yeah, so low, good, arms up, oh yeah, feels good, low lunge. Okay, so we're not gonna do that. What I'm gonna have you do is from this low lunge shape is pull your hips up and back until your shoulders, your hips, and your right thigh bone are in the straight parallel line. Okay, if you want to shorten your stance and bring your left heel back a bit, fine, no problem. But here we are. Now, fingertips to your ribs, please. Draw your low ribs in. And I even want you to posteriorly tilt your pelvis a little bit. And what you might notice is some different action or sensation along the front of your thighs, along the front of your quadriceps. When we just sink into our hips like so, a lot of pressures on the anterior joint capsule. Not that that's a huge issue, but it could be. And for our purposes today, we're looking for more muscular length rather than joint length. So fingertips to your low ribs drawing in, a slight posterior tilt to your pelvis, engage through your front body. Great. Elbows bent, forearms up. Inhale, take your elbows wide. Exhale, bring your elbows together. Now I want you to sink your hips forward towards your left heel, just a 1/2 inch. Good. And then inhale, elbows open up. Exhale, elbows together. I'm going to have you sink your hips towards your left heel 1 more time. You're not going to your fullest. You know you can go lower, but I want you to stay engaged and aware through the front thigh. And then inhale, elbows open up. And exhale, forearms together. Great. Set your fingertips to the floor. Step back to downward facing dog. You can always hit child's pose and take a breather. You can stay in downward dog or inhale and bring your body forward to staff, shoulders over wrists, on or off your knees. Lower yourself all the way to the floor. We're going to do locust pose. Bring your arms by your sides. Inhale, lift as much of your body up off the floor as you'd like. Head up, shoulders up, chest, arms, legs. Firing up your back body again. Exhale, back to the floor. Find your way to downward dog, taking any detours, take the scenic route, however you want to get there. Adho Mukha. Good, full breath in. Fill up your side ribs. And a slow breath out. Bring your feet to your hands, however it works for you. Walk, step, hop. Good. Utkatasana. Bend your knees, sink your hips. Lift your chest, lift your arms. Bring it up a little higher, Maxine. Excellent. And then fold forward. Fingertips to the floor. Beautiful. Come halfway up on your next breath in. This is called Ardha Uttanasana. And then exhale, fold forward. Your left foot will go back, left knee will come down. And here we are. When we take that big step to the back of the mat, it's so tempting. We want to just like hang out low in the hammock of the pelvis and try to bring our left thigh as close to the floor as possible. Yeah, very common in the vinyasa culture to just sink into this and then fly into downward dog. So we're going to work it a little bit. I want you to lift your hips up. You're pressing into your right heel to do this. Lift your hips up. Align yourself, ears, shoulders, hips, left thigh bone, left knee in the same plane. A posterior tilt to your pelvis. So what that means is the opposite of anterior. Anterior, you're just sticking your butt out and you're over-exaggerating this arch in your lower back. So a little posterior tilt of the pelvis, fingertips to your low ribs. Grab a block. Okay. Take your block widthwise between your hands. Block up overhead. Breathing in. As you exhale, press your hands into your block. Bend your elbows, bringing your block behind your head. Good. Inhale. Straighten your arms. Exhale. Bend your elbow, bring your block behind you. Hug your elbows together. Good. Now notice what's going on in your low ribs. Good. One more time. Inhale, arms up. Draw your low ribs in. Exhale, squeeze your elbows towards one another. Hug your elbows in. Good. Inhale, arms up. Beautiful. Set your block down. And you know what we didn't do? Let's hold on a second. Set your block down. But we're going to just slightly bring our pelvis towards our right heel. We're not sinking all the way to the floor, but just a little shift forward. Good. And we'll do it again. A little shift forward. And just notice what you're feeling in the front of your left thigh. Little shift forward. Now, fingertips to the floor, and you can step back to downward facing dog. So either hanging down dog, come to child's pose, or glide forward to staff on an in-breath. Bring your body down to the mat on an out-breath. Knees or no knees, your choice. Then we're going to do locust pose again, arms by your sides. Inhale, strengthening back body. Lift your head, chest, legs up off the floor. Exhale, back down to the mat. Good. Find your way to downward dog. Full breath in, slow breath out. Okay, we just have one more sequence to do. Like this. Bring your feet to your hands, please. Good. Utkatasana. Bent knees, sink your hips, arms up. 3 breaths. Inhale. Good. Exhale. That looks great. Good. Inhale. And exhale. Good. One more breath. Go a little lower if you can. And then fold forward. Exhale. Beautiful. Fingertips to the floor. Halfway up as you breathe in. Fill your lungs and then spill your breath out over your feet as you exhale. Bring your fingertips to the floor. Step your right foot back. Bring your right knee down. Okay, so here we go again. I'm going to have you draw your hips up and back, lining up ears, shoulders, hips, right femur. Now, listen, check it out. I'm going to have you take your left foot, keeping this 90-degree angle in your left knee. I want you to take your left foot off of your mat out to the left. You're not going totally out. You're not going a total like way out, but just at a diagonal. Okay. Okay. Now from here, fingertips to your low ribs, and we're going to sink into our left hip, sink our pelvis towards our left heel. Okay. Good. Now you can bring your hands to your heart in prayer. You can take your one hand to your left leg if you'd like. Good. Bring yourself back to the midline. Heel toe your left foot back to your mat. Excellent. Fingertips to the floor. And then start to inch your right knee back just a 1/2 inch. You're going to bring your left elbow to your left knee. And then kick your right heel up behind you. Take your right hand back, grab a hold of your foot. And I'm usually a stickler about taking the instep of your foot, but how about you go ahead and just grab the outer edge of your foot? And then I want you to turn your trunk to the top of your sticky mat. And rather than thinking, oh, I've got to get my heel to my butt, I want you to kick your foot into your hand. Kick your foot into your hand, kick, 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 and feel what fires up in the front of your right thigh. Good. Trunk facing the front of the room, chest, sternum, collarbones facing the top of your mat. Good. Kick your foot into your hand. Let's go one more breath. Kick, kick, kick. Might not look like much, but it sure feels like something's going on. Release your foot, bring your hands to the floor, step back, downward facing dog. You just got 2 more dog poses to go. This one and the next side. So either stay in dog or come forward to staff. Bring your body down to your mat. And we're going to do 2 back bends here. We're going to do locust first. So bring your arms by your sides. Inhale, lift up. Locust, take flight. Exhale, come to the floor. Slide your hands under your shoulders for cobra. And as you're ready, inhale, lift up. Keep your feet down, feet and legs down. Good. Peel your sternum up off the mat. And exhale, return to the mat. Make your way to downward facing dog. Good. A full breath in. And open your mouth and exhale from your mouth. Bring your feet to your hands, please. This is it, y'all. This is the B side, and this is it. Utkatasana, 1 breath. Sink your hips. Bend your knees, arms up, inhale. Fold forward as you exhale. Ardha Uttanasana, inhale halfway up. And exhale, fold forward, take your left foot back, big step to the back of your sticky mat. Left knee comes down. All right, here we go again. All the same rules apply. Lift your hips, ears, shoulders, hips, left femur bone, all in the same plane. You're going to take your right leg, heel toe it out to the right, about 45 degrees. Okay. Hands can be at your hips. Fingertips can stay at your low ribs or hands to your heart. And here we go. We're going to slide our pelvis over towards our right heel. I rather like this one. Okay, great. Lift your hips back to the midline. Heel toe your right foot back onto your sticky mat. Fingertips to the floor. Good. Now you can adjust your left knee. If it's need to put some cushion under it, go for it. We're going to bring our right elbow to the right knee. Kick your left heel up behind you. Reach back and take a hold of the outside of your left foot. And remember, we're not trying to get the heel to our butt, but we're going to push the foot into the hand. Kick the foot into your hand. Kick, kick, kick. Now, what happens if you do that posterior tilt to your pelvis? Does anything change? Do you feel any added sensations in your left thigh, or the front of your left thigh, or along the front of your left hip? Keep kicking your foot into your hand. Excellent. Fingertips to the floor, please. Ooh la la. Downward facing dog. Last one. Anything goes, y'all. You can take child's pose. Come forward to staff if you'd like. Bring your body down to the mat for those 2 back bends, those 2 spinal extensions. Do what feels right in your body, or skip the whole damn thing. Inhale to locust pose first. Exhale down. Inhale to cobra pose. Yeah, nice, Bruce. And exhale down. Come back to downward facing dog. That's it. That's it for the flow. Take a full breath in. Breathe into your back ribs. And exhale, exhale, exhale. Bring your feet to your hands. Good. Bring your hands to your waist. With strong legs and a straight, strong back, lift yourself all the way up to standing. And bring your arms to your sides. Now, if you want to be near a wall or have the back of a chair nearby, we're coming into just one balancing pose. Put your weight into your left leg. Bring your hands to your waist. And then we're just going to bring our right knee up. Do the best you can, reaching for 90 degrees. But now listen, I'm going to have you take your right knee and foot back behind you. Try to keep your trunk upright. And then reach your arms back like you'd like to grab a hold of your right ankle. So it's kind of like a Natrajasana, right? It's kind of like a dancer pose. I want you to reach for your ankle, but don't grab your ankle. It'd be so much easier, I know, and it feels so good to just get the ankle and really let this pose fly. But it's not what this is about. We're firing up our hamstrings and our glutes. Reach back, reach back, reach back. And then set your foot down. Woo-wee. That's a good time. Let's do the other side. Put your weight into your right leg. First, just pick your left knee up. And then you can start to hinge. Take your left knee back behind you, your left heel back behind you. So here we are in extension. Now reach your arms back. Reach back, reach back, reach back. Gosh, y'all, that's great. Oh my gosh. You're making this look a lot easier than it is for me. And beautiful. Set your foot down. Excellent. Let's inhale, both arms up overhead. And exhale, fold forward. Come halfway up as you breathe in, hands to your shins or fingertips stay to the floor. And then fold forward as you exhale. And I want you to come down onto your bum. So bend your knees and give yourself a good squat. Drop onto your bum. So here we go in our Setu Bandha Sardhavangasana. This is like a bridge forming pose is what that loosely translates to meaning. And I want you to have both of your blocks nearby. We're going to do this bridge pose 4 ways. Okay, we're going to start with just classic. And have your blocks close because we are going to use the blocks at the end. So just starting out with classic bridge pose, you know, the typical cues, which I know I always give, but the typical cues are, you know, heels in line with your sit bones, arms down by your sides. Try to get a visual, a snapshot from above to see that the outer edges of your feet are somewhat parallel to the long edges of your mat. And then you identify the 4 corners of your feet. And when you are ready, you'll breathe in, slide your tailbone forward, and then lift up. Good. Your arms are down on the floor. You can tuck one shoulder blade in towards your spine and then the other. Maybe bring your hands together underneath your bum. And here we are in just classic traditional bridge forming pose. Good. Let's take one more breath. Terrific. Slowly bring yourself down. Good. Let your knees knock in towards one another. We've got 3 more to go. So we're going to take our time between shapes. Okay, round 2. Round 2 is going to require a little bit more excitement in your hamstrings and your glutes. I'm going to have you keep your shins perpendicular to the mat, but just walk your feet to the outer edges of your mat. So the outer edges of your feet line up evenly right at the edge of your mat. Okay, so with the outer edges of our feet lined up, we know that our feet aren't torqued out. We're going to keep the feet straight, right? Arms down by your sides. And then here we go. On an in-breath, lift your hips, bring your hands together underneath your bum, gently nestle one shoulder blade in towards your spine, then the other. And here you go. Now, where are your big toes? And where is the ball mound? The ball of your foot, the ball mound of your big toe. Press into the ball of your foot. Good. And feel what you feel, whatever engagement you feel along your back, your low back, your glutes. I mean, we got to engage our glutes and our hamstrings to come up. Let's take 2 more breaths. Now release your hands. I like to bring my hands to my butt and then release your shoulders. And then with my hands at my butt, they kind of act like little brake pads. And I can then set my spine down, knock your knees inward, and let them rest against one another. And you can bring one hand to your belly, one hand to your low ribs, and let's just pause. And while we're here pausing, I just want you to internally assess, how was that for you with your feet wide versus the classic instruction of keeping the feet sit bone distance apart? That feel easier? Did it feel more challenging? Was there more tightness in your low back? Was there any pinching, any impingement or impingement? Impingement? All right, I'm going with it. Was there any hinging? Impairment? Anyway, you know what I'm saying. How did it feel? All right, we're going to do one more with our feet wide. So lift your knees up, keeping your heels at the edge of your mat. I'm just going to have you spin your toes off the mat. Okay. Feet are still wide as the mat. Toes are now angled off the mat. And here we go. When you're ready, inhale, hips up, pelvis up, hands come together underneath your bum, and up you go. Now, are you rocking to the outer edges of your feet? Press into the inner heel, press into the ball mound of your big toe. Enjoy the engagement of the glutes, the low back, the hamstrings are really firing up. Let's take 2 more breaths. Hands to your buttocks. Release your shoulders and slowly, slowly, slowly slink back to the mat. Rest your knees against one another. One hand to your belly, one hand to your low ribs. Take a mental inventory. How's this feeling in your body? How's your body responding to this? Check in with your heartbeat, your breath rate, your body temperature. Okay, here's where the blocks come into the picture. If you don't have 2 blocks, don't sweat it. If you don't have two blocks, you can do this just lifting your heels up off the floor, and you can do this next and last bridge pose on the balls of your feet. If you've got your blocks, then you're going to slide your blocks down until they are snug up against your feet on the outer sides of your feet, and then step your feet up onto your blocks. Now I want your feet, your blocks are in line with your sit bones. So we're going back to that classic traditional version. But now with our feet on our blocks, it's as though we've just added another 3 or 4 inches to the length of our quadriceps and our hip flexors. So feet to blocks. Now, I don't know if you can see, but a little bit of my heel is hanging off the edge of my block, just a tiny bit. I feel like it gives me a little traction, but I want you to feel secure. Blocks need to be on your mat so they don't slide out from underneath you. And then here we go. Blocks are pretty close to your bum. Arms are down at your sides. And boom, when you're ready, press into your feet, press into your blocks, and lift your hips. Bring your hands underneath you, just as we've done, and up you go, way up. Now, one option, if you want to explore this, bend your elbows, bring your hands to your lower back so that your thumbs are at your spine. The rest of your fingers will gently wrap around your outer hips and waist, your outer waist. So your block, you're supported by your blocks, your elbows, your shoulders, and your head. Good. And lift up, lift up, lift up. I'm going to have you stay here for 3 more breaths so I can get a visual on the camera. Fantastic. Good. Very nice. Woo. Okay. And if your elbows are bent, bring your hands to your buttocks. Everybody can bring your hands to your buttocks. And the elbow bent people, you can let your elbows move out to the side. Everybody can release your shoulder blades away from your spine and slowly come down. Whew. Good. Let your knees knock inward. You can step off your blocks. Take your feet to either edge, to the outer sides of your blocks, rather. Let your knees drop in. One hand to belly, one hand to ribs. Well done, everyone. Place your right ankle to the top of your left knee, please, for reclining pigeon. And pull your left leg towards you. And bring your hands around the back of your left thigh or the front of your left shin. Change legs. Set your right foot down. Place your left ankle to the top of your right knee. And here we go. Just about 45 seconds, just under a minute on each side. Yeah, looks good, Melissa. Good. Shoulders relax, jaw at ease. Great. And set your feet to the floor. Good. And then pull your knees to your chest, both knees to your chest. You're going to take your arms out like a T, and I want you to rock your knees over to the left. Just land in a twist that best serves your body. You can bring your knees up high towards your left elbow, or keep your knees down low. And if you want to use your left hand to assist, you can place your left hand to the outside of your right knee or thigh. You're going to bring your knees back up and take your time. And readjust your hips if you need to before taking your knees over to the right. And you can bring your right hand to the outside of your left leg, if that feels supportive to you and helpful to you. Bring your knees back up. And keeping your arms out like a T, or they can come down by your sides if you'd like. I want you to send your heels to the ceiling for Supta Dandasana. Good. Nice flexion of the feet, Melissa. Great, Libby. Good. And then just press up through your inner heels. Good. Energetically hug your thighs towards one another. Good. Now you can stay like this or reach up and hook your big toes with your peace fingers. And then draw your feet towards your head, or, aim them towards, we're not going to the floor. We're not going into plow pose or anything, but just draw your legs towards you in the way that lengthens and stretches and feels good to your back. Great. Good. Now, what if you tucked your chin to your chest and drew your head in the direction of your knees? This last couple of breaths, really kind of squeezing up there. Very nice. Good. Release your feet. Bring your shoulders and head to the floor. And with soft knees, let your feet come to the sticky mat. And then, take a minute. If you want to do anything before you make your way into Shavasana, go for it. If you want to do any windshield wipers with your legs, just any movement at all, or another twist or two. Happy baby. Whatever your body's requesting. Great. Now, if you'll begin to put yourself into Shavasana, whether that's on your mat or your legs up the wall, or you want to climb up into bed or onto a chair or a sofa, anything goes. Anything goes in Zoomlandia. We've got a good, strong 7 minutes in Shavasana. So drop in, tune in. Start to deepen your breath. You're welcome to stay in this space as long as your time permits. Stay in the shape as long as your time permits. Otherwise, start to move your fingers and your toes, please. Stretch, extend and pandiculate through your arms and your legs. And set your feet to the floor and identify how you're going to make your way to sitting. Visualize it. And then make it so. Maybe rolling to your favorite side and come up. Great. Before we dive into our chant, I want you to have a seat that's comfortable, that works best for your bones and joints, your structure. Bring your right hand in front of your face. Place the pad of your thumb and ring finger at the bridge of your nose. We're just going to do 3 rounds, but as we roll, let's begin together. So exhale whatever you have in your lungs. And then take a deep breath in. Seal your right nostril and exhale from your left. Inhale from your left. Exhale from your right. Inhale right. Exhale left. Good. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. And one more round. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale right. And exhale left. And place your left hand to your lap. Invite your breath and the prana to move freely and fully through both nostrils. Move freely and fully throughout your body. And place your hands to your heart. And no pressure to join, but we'll roll through 1 round of the Gayatri mantra. Inhaling deeply. Om Bhurbuva Swaha Tatsavitur Varinyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yo Na Prachodayat. And bring the base of your thumbs to your third eye. May we have balance in our thoughts this week. Set your fingertips to your lips. May we have balance in our words. And then place your hands to your heart. May we always have balance in our heart. Thank you for joining me. Awesome. Great, everyone.